There's a pretty good chance that's stopping your project from succeeding, and it has nothing to do with your talent, your money, or your resources. The problem is actually you. And how do I know that? Because Venus and Orion comics almost never existed. And I'll tell you this. I started the idea of Venus and Orion comics back in 2020, but I didn't get the LLC until 2021. At the time, I thought I was being smart, being responsible. Before you know it, I started pushing back my project because I thought the characters weren't good enough. The world building weren't good enough. And when I look at the script, I turn around and I say that, hey, maybe I just do one more revision. And that one more revision becomes another revision. And before I knew it, 4 years has passed. Yes, that's right. 4 years has passed and I have not released a comic book at that time. If that sounds familiar to you, then this video is definitely for you. Because today I want to talk about why right now is the perfect time to begin your project. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. One of the biggest lies that creators tell themselves is that they need more time. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care. The problem is they care too much. You want your comic to be perfect. You want your video game to be perfect. You may even want your novel to be perfect. So you keep revising, you keep researching, and you keep preparing. And preparations feel productive. It feels like you're making progress, but sometimes what you're actually doing is avoiding the risk. Because the moment you release your project, people can judge it. They can criticize it, they can reject it. And as long as it's sitting on your hard drive, it's safe. And that's where your project actually dies. Not because they were bad, but because the creator never allowed them to actually exist. From 2021 to 2024, I spent those 4 years questioning myself. Whether my writing was good enough, or were the characters interesting enough? Was the world building even deep enough? Was the dialogue strong enough to be able to pull people in? But every time I answered that one question, I created 3 more. And eventually I realized something, that I wasn't improving my project anymore. I was stalling. I was using perfection as an excuse not to move forward. Then one day I sat back and I asked myself a simple question. What if it's already good enough? Not perfect, but just good enough. Because perfection doesn't exist, and I kept chasing perfection. Varian Keller's Vampire Killers would never ever be released if I continued to have that mind frame. So in 2024, I stopped revising and I actually started producing. My artist and I had moved forward. We began to develop chapter 1 throughout that entire year, and in 2025 we had launched the project on Kickstarter, which actually gained honest success. And here's the funny part. The time that I spent, those 4 years that I spent worrying about whether or not if the work is good, the project is good, most of my readers didn't even care. They enjoyed the characters, they enjoyed the story, they enjoyed the world. They felt like they were a part of something. They went out and actually bought the comic, and people supported the project even farther. Went to my website, and if they missed out on the project, they went to the website and grabbed themselves an extra copy, and even tried as hard as to hunt down the variant covers as well. People showed up at conventions. They actually held the book in their hands. They even asked me to sign their books. I spent 4 years trying to solve a problem that didn't exist. Was the comic perfect? No, absolutely not. But it was good enough to begin, and that's all it needed to be. And one thing that I did learn the most out of all the conversations that I had with many other content creators that are out there and reading the comments and talking on live stream is that we tend to find ourselves all found to be in that trap of that same cycle of telling ourselves that we need to improve our characters, our writing, our storytelling, our art. And maybe I don't get it. Maybe I have to go to a writing workshop in order to learn how to develop characters. And don't get me wrong, learning is very important. But eventually you have to stop learning and actually start doing, because there's no amount of time or preparations that will help you prepare for actually creating. And the only way to learn how to release a project is to actually release one. And the only way to learn how readers respond is to let them read. The only way for you to learn how players react is to let them play. And the only way to learn viewer engagement is to allow them to let them watch it. And at some point, you have to leave the classroom. Now, there's a YouTuber named Rory Ohama who made a video called "Why You're Too Smart to Be This Broke." And it's a really good watch.
Called Dunning-Kruger effect, where people with low competence in a given domain tend to overestimate their abilities, and people with high competence in a given domain tend to underestimate their own abilities. So when you have high intelligence, you usually have high awareness. You realize all the areas that you don't know. As my guy Socrates said, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. But when it comes to less intelligent people, they usually don't see those gaps. And even if they do, they have more of like not backed confidence or delusion that lets them start. They think they know enough, they think they got it, and they just do the thing. Whereas you look at all the options and you start to analyze, strategize, and prevent all the possible problems that you can encounter. And that creates an analysis paralysis, where you're like paralyzed by your own mind. So what do you do when you have this fear of failure and analysis paralysis? You get into the constant learning mode. You think, maybe if I learn more, I'll find the perfect path. If I read one more book, then I'll start. If I take one more online course, then I'll be ready. And then you keep doing this again and again and again. And the more you learn, the more you realize you know nothing.
One of the points you make is that smart people tend to overthink themselves into a paralysis. And honestly, I think same thing happens when it comes to creativity. The more you analyze every possible outcome, the harder it becomes to actually take an action. You begin to try to predict every problem, every criticism, every failure, every obstacle. Eventually, you become so focused on planning how to stop that. Eventually, you become so focused on planning, you actually stop moving. Meanwhile, someone else, half your talent, is already out there building. Not because they're smarter, not because they're better. Every major event and accomplishment that happened in my life was because I decided to take a chance. When it came to my comic book universe, my business, my animation work, and even down to my YouTube channels. None of them started because I felt ready. They all started because I decided to take a risk, take that chance, make that leap of faith. I didn't know that my animation is going to be the thing that's going to help finance Venus Orion Comics to the point that it's at right now. I had no idea that I was going to be going to travel to conventions. I didn't know I was going to meet industry professionals. I didn't know I was going to gain this many supporters. I didn't even know that people was going to buy my comic. I didn't even know any of that. I just had to figure out my own way. But in order to do that, I had to take a chance. And that's how life works. There would never be a complete, perfect roadmap in your life. It's just only the next step. The project is like your child. You want to protect it, invest in it, and you actually want to nurture it. Because you care so much about it, you will always see the flaws in them. You always think that this scene could be better. This character could be stronger. The design could improve much more. And maybe you're right, but your audience doesn't need perfection. They need authenticity. They need something real. And when people see passion and potential, they'll follow you in your journey. They'll watch you improve. They'll watch your project evolve. They'll actually grow alongside you. Marvel wasn't perfect day one. DC wasn't perfect day one. Your favorite mangas wasn't perfect day one. Everything evolves, including you. So, if you're sitting on a project right now, I want you to hear me clearly. Yes, I am talking to you right now. Listen to me. Stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop chasing perfection. Release the comic or just release your project of whatever it is. Write the novel, build the game, create the animation, launch the channel. Make your project into the next phase. Because the greatest threat to your dream isn't failure. The greatest threat is never giving it a chance to exist. Go out there, take that leap, and create. And that's pretty much the message that I wanted to leave with you guys. It was something that I was thinking about over time because I noticed when I read the comment sections, when I get emails, I check the DMs on my social media, a lot of you guys have great ideas. And the main thing that I do notice is that a lot of you are trying to reach perfection. You guys keep saying that, you know what, once I get this done, or once I figure out this, I'm actually trying to learn better writing skills in order for me to be able to get this where I want it to be, and then I'll release it. And I'm telling you this from personal experience that I started Venus Orion Comics, the ideal of it in 2020, and got the LLC in 2021, and I ended up releasing my first book in 2025. I spent that long because I was worried about, is it better? Is it perfect enough for you guys? And once I actually released it, all my fears went away. I wasted all that time when I could have been released the project. And I think all you guys are showing that support, and I want to be able to lend that same advice to you guys. Today is the best day to start your project. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year. Today, get on it right now, because the worst enemy and the worst threat to your passion and creativity is yourself. So I just want to remind you of that. So if you like the video, hit the subscribe button, the like button for more indie knowledge as being a creator when it comes to indie comics and just creativity in general. And if you love to follow my universe with Venus and Orion Comics, I definitely would enjoy that too. And you can go check out my website for more content. And this is Brian Howard Blackson Jr. signing off.